Good evening, council, staff, and ladies and gentlemen who join us tonight watching us on Rogers. I'd like to start with singing of O Canada. Would you join with us, please? All rise. Thank you. Do I remain seated, please? For a moment of silent reflection, as we take a moment of silence this evening, I ask that we also remember our residents who have recently lost loved ones, including the families and friends of Irene Crombie, David Merkley, Joan Mitchell, each of whom contribute significantly to the town of New Tecumseth. Their many contributions and dedication to our community is greatly appreciated, and they will be missed. Tonight, we also take a moment to offer our condolences to Councillor Lacey and his family on the recent passing of his father-in-law, Jim Barber Sr. Our thoughts are with the families of Jim Barber, Irene Crombie, David Merkley, and Joe Mitchell during this difficult times. Our town of New Tecumseth flags have all been lowered to half-mast today in honor of these people. Just bow your head, please, and think of the people we've just lost. Thank you. We want to acknowledge that we are on the lands that traditionally occupied by the Indigenous people. They continue to care for this land. They continue to shape the town of New Tecumseth, and we want to show our respect. Hundreds of years after the first treaties were signed, they are still relevant today. Thank you. This time I'll go to the clerk to ask for items to add or delete to the agenda.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have two items. Item D2, Ken Parks. He'd like to speak on the application for zoning bylaw amendment, NAK Building Services Limited, care of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, 27 Mill Street East, Community of Tottenham, file number DEV 399. And this will require unanimous vote of council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The first item is allow Kenneth Park, and I see a show of hands. Or yes. It's carried.
Okay.
Also to Ian Logan, show of cards. Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Look, be it resolved that the agenda for the council meeting held on February 1st, 2021 be confirmed as amended. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Beatty. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. If any council has a pecuniary interest, you can call it now or when the item comes up. Councillor Jebb.
Thank you, Your Worship. CW42, the ViaNet, support for ViaNet's enhanced broadband as their antenna is on top of our grain elevator. And PM5, my relative has property beside the proposed development.
Okay, thank you. And anyone else? Deputy Mayor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I was kind of hoping to speak to the awards and recognitions when you get to that item, please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Beatty.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll declare on PM5, please, as my property abuts the development.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? We have a motion to be resolved that the minutes of the council meeting dated January 11th, 2021 be adopted as circulated, and further the minutes of the special council meeting dated January 11th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Noah and seconded by Councillor McClellan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll go to the clerk to identify items for separate discussion and the reasons thereof.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item C-1, Ontario Good Roads Association, re-2020 OGRA Conference, correspondence to be received. C-2, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, re-Ontario Longstanding Service Recognition Certificate for directions. C-3, Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition, Lake Simcoe Protection Plan update, correspondence. D-1, Mel Piper, New Tecumseth Public Library, Alliston Public Library Branch, deputation. D2, Ken Parks, application for zoning bylaw amendment, NAK Building Services Limited, care of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, 27 Mill Street East, Community of Tottenham, file number DEV 399, deputation. D-3, Ian Logan, application for zoning bylaw amendment, NAK Building Services Limited, care of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, 27 Mill Street, Community of Tottenham, file number DEV 399, deputation. CW42, support for ViaNet Inc.'s enhanced broadband services. Councillor Jebb, pecuniary interest. We have C-S1, verbal report of the CAO, investing in Canada infrastructure program update. PM4, Town New Tecumseth, Bean Heritage Conservation District Plan, statutory public meeting. PM5, applications for draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. Farsight Homes Inc., care of Vanessa Simpson, innovative planning consultant, 79 Pepper Street East, Community of Alliston, file numbers NT T2001 and DV 392. And item 4, verbal report of the CAO, update on COVID-19.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll go to council to identify items for Councillor Stainsbury.
Thank you, Your Worship. I didn't hear the clerk say CS2, which is a verbal report by the CAO. Did Ms. Kane pull that?
No, that's actually a written report.
It says verbal.
Okay.
It's number 2, Committee of the Whole closed, and it's important that we deal with that tonight before the meeting next week.
There's a separate report on committee. There's a separate report.
Councillor Lacey?
Sorry, that is actually, there's a separate report on committee of the whole. This is not that item.
Oh, thank you. And just for the clarification, so the one that I wanted to speak to CWD2 when Mr. Piper gives his presentation, and CW51 when it's our turn. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lacey.
Thank you, Your Worship. CW51, please.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noel.
C-2, please.
C-2.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. C-3, CW42, and CW52.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, I'll go back to the clerk to summarize all items identified for separate discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. C-1, Ontario Good Roads Association, RE 2021 OGRA Conference. C-2, C-3, D-1, D-2, D-3, CW42, CW51, application for zoning bylaw amendment, NAK, Building Services Limited, Carolyn Baker, Baker Planning Group, 27 Mill Street East, Community of Tottenham. File number DEV 399, CW52, Community Improvement Plan, Signage, Awning, and Lighting Grant, 24 Mill Street West, Tottenham. C-1, PM4, and PM5.
Have a motion then be resolved that items CW1 to CW5 on the committee of the whole meeting report dated January 11th, 2021, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, and be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. And further, the items CS1 to CS2 on the committee of the whole closed meeting report dated January 11th, 2021, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. And further, that the items of PM1 to PM5 on the committee of the whole planning public meeting report dated January 13th, 2021, with the exceptions of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. Look for a mover second, Deputy Mayor and Councillor McClellan. Any questions? Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Was closed session 1 pulled?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. First one is CW1, Ontario Good Roads Association. But for a mover and a second, be resolved that the correspondence from the Ontario Good Roads Association be received. Councillor Jebb and Councillor Noel. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On CS2, be it resolved that the corporation from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and further that blank be nominated to the Ontario Long-Standing Service Recognition Certificate. I'll go to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I placed this item on Council's agenda. It's actually, it's my pleasure to announce that Mayor Milne has approximately 30 years of municipal service, and Councillor Sainsbury has approximately 25 plus years of municipal service to residents in Ontario. There is an award process. and a recognition from the province of Ontario that once you reach these milestones, that they present you with a plaque, an award, acknowledging your service to your residents and your constituents. Your worship, I'd like to put a motion on the floor that we nominate yourself, Mayor Milne, and Councillor Sainsbury to the province of Ontario, and that we apply for these awards, that you both are deserving and you've both deserved to have them. And you've certainly put your time in there. So I'm hoping that a member of council will second my nomination. And that would be an announcement direction of council to submit that to the province of Ontario. Thank you, your worship.
He was seconded by Councillor Jebb. I'll go to Councillor Sainsbury. Did you wish to say anything in regards to the nomination?
I believe only 4% make it this far through, your worship. I'm not sure whether they give up or whether people give up on them, but it's not easy to do, let me tell you. So all of you up and comers, hang in there. It can be done.
Thank you, Councillor Sainsbury. And I echo those. It's been a great 30 years. It just flew by, and I've had a great time and really enjoyed it. I had great councillors, great staff, and actually the public's been very kind to me at times too. I'll go to Councillor Noyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, you pulled the words right out of my mouth, because I did pull this item in, but I was going to come up with the same nominations, and both of you well deserve it. Thank you very much for your services.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried unanimously. CW3, motion be resolved that the correspondence from the rescue Lake Simcoe Kona should be received. Moved by Councillor Harrison McIntyre and seconded by Councillor Beattie. Questions? Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 27 of the agenda, there's a sample motion provided by the Lake Simcoe, and I would like to request that we bring this motion forward. Whereas a healthy environment provides the foundation for healthy communities, healthy people, and healthy economy. And whereas the passage of the Lake Simcoe Protection Act received unanimous all-party support in the Ontario legislature in 2008, therefore be it resolved that the town of New Tecumseth calls on the Ontario government to demonstrate its commitment to clean water and protecting what matters most in the provincial statutory review of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan by ensuring that provisions in the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan that protect water quality are not weakened and that policies protecting natural heritage be strengthened in order to meet the targets of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. And the Ontario government requested to work collaboratively with affected provincial ministries and all levels of government, including First Nations and Métis, to achieve the goals and targets of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan and to resource the programs that improve Lake Simcoe's water quality during the provincial statutory review of the Lake Simcoe Protection Plan. And that copies of this resolution be sent to Jim Wilson. I'm not sure if there's anyone else, Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority and Nonoxaga Valley Conservation Authority.
Good, thank you. Councillor Beattie, you're a seconder. You're still satisfied with being a seconder? Good. Questions, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with the motion, absolutely. But when I was reading the report, it says that their final policy recommendations are coming back February 9th. So I would assume, Councillor Harrison McIntyre, they're probably looking to put more meat on the bones, per se. So should we wait for that final policy to come back? Or I guess the way our council schedule works, depending on what comes in that policy, I guess we could add to the resolution. Am I safe to say that?
Councillor Harrison McIntyre?
Yeah, so Your Worship, as we have a committee of the whole, we have a special meeting? No. I was going to say we can add it on. Well, I was wondering if perhaps we can add it on to the special council meeting, if with council's permission, and then it could be passed and forwarded onto them in advance of their decision.
I understand where you're going with it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the clerk. Can we do that?
Okay, through your worship, in accordance with the procedure bylaw, what it indicates is the only business to be dealt with at a special council meeting is that which is listed in the notice of the meeting. However, under the procedure bylaw, we do have suspend the rules of procedure, which indicates rules of and regulations contained herein may be suspended by 2/3 vote of members present at the meeting, provided that such rule is not prescribed by statute or requires a unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClellan?
Thank you, Worship. This is a council meeting, so will it not be ratified if we vote to pass it right now?
It would be, yes.
Yes, it would be.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All in favor of the motion? Councillor Harrison McIntyre read out, not mine. Carried. Thank you. At this time, we'll go to the deputation. And Mr. Piper, Mel, could you bring him in, please, Madam Clerk?
Good evening, Mayor and councillors and guests.
Good evening, Mel.
I think most of you know who I am. I am the chair of the new Tecumseth Library Board. And we, the board, have been very proactive in the last 2 years in improving the services the library offers, including improved management, improved morale, improved services, especially during the pandemic, and ensuring that the Tottenham Library provides the most up-to-date technical services. Hopefully it will open soon. The public recognizes these efforts by comments such as, "We are grateful for the services the library provides during the pandemic. It certainly helped us survive these tough times. Our online statistics reflect how important these services are to the community, both during the pandemic and during normal non-pandemic times." Our new strategic plan, which is still in the process, emphasizes the need to continue to enhance technology in all 3 libraries and to increase community involvement through Friends Group. Our plan also emphasizes the need to improve library facilities in Alliston. This priority is so important to the community that we are starting the planning process now. It's come to a library board's attention that the plans for the new town administration building will not include a new library in Alliston. This is very disappointing since Alliston is in desperate need of a new library facilities. The existing library was established at the current location in 1982 when the Alliston population was around 3,000 and the library was only 4,200 square feet. Today, the Alliston population exceeds 21,000, an increase of 700%, and yet the library is still at 4,200 square feet. The Alliston Library's chronic lack of space means there is limited space for readers to sit to review a book. There's no room for students to do research. There's limited space for running programs for children, and there is a limited space to facilitate adult programs. The lack of any sunshine in the building is depressing and disturbing, causing many users to leave the building before taking full advantage of all the services the library provides. Compared to the Beaton Library, with its bright and spacious interior, the new Tottenham Library with its sunny, spacious, inviting atmosphere and its well-equipped technical services, thanks to CRIP. Both libraries being well over 5,200 square feet, the Alliston Library is gloomy, crowded, uninviting, and poorly equipped with facilities, with lack of space and barely 4,000 square feet to service more than half of the new Tecumseth population. Compared to our other 2 libraries and libraries in the surrounding communities, such as Cooksville, Ennisville, Barrie, and Angus, the Alliston Library grossly lacks the space, atmosphere, and services of a modern library and is a deterrent to attract new users. Our recent client survey clearly identifies these shortcomings. The library is an icon of the city, of the town, where clients can identify with our vibrant community, our friendly staff and leaders, and our urban lifestyle. It is a valuable identifier of the rich heritage that this provides, which we do not want to lose. The Alliston Library has been ignored far too long. We must take action now before the community decides to force the issue and before our clients decide to leave our library altogether. We need to be proactive. The library will play a key role in helping the community to recover from the COVID-19. And now is the time to start planning for a facility that truly meets the needs of our citizens. This request is an urgent plea to Town Council and the Planning Committee to support this initiative and to begin the planning of an urgently needed new modern Alliston Public Library to address and accommodate the community's underserviced yet growing needs for the services that a library provides. The new Tecumseth Library's 5-year strategic plan calls for a new Alliston Library to complete it within the timeframes of this strategic plan. The board is very thankful for all the support the council has given us in getting the Tottenham Library up and running, and we're counting on the same partnership with council on getting the new Alliston Library established. We're eager to begin working with town staff and to develop a plan for a new Alliston branch, and we look forward to the support of the town council. Thank you. I can't hear anybody.
No, it was my fault now. I have a mute problem. On mute. Councillor Sainsbury.
Thank you, Your Worship. We did a few years back when we first purchased the land to do the new town hall. The library was to be on the northeast quadrant. That was part of the plan, but we were to move into the building first and then add that wing. And in the meantime, we were setting aside DCs and reserves for the Alliston Library. But when we found out about the steel tariffs and the cost increases for the Tottenham Library, I believe some of the reserves and some of the DC accounts were used for that purpose to keep the debenture down. So more or less 3 years have gone by and we haven't established the town office. So that's why we haven't been able to do anything at that particular site related to the library. So I think a committee that is being recommended by Mr. Piper is a good idea. I'm not sure if he has to if this is his formal request and we refer it to staff. I would move that we receive the deputation and the delegation and the documentation and refer it to the appropriate staff as decided by the CAO. And that perhaps committees can be struck and we can go from there as to how we can do this and how we can start to budget for this, because I don't think it was in this year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go to Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually had some email correspondence with GM Bedford about locating the library and making the new town hall a multi-use facility. So I didn't know if maybe GM Bedford wanted to update everyone because I was told that cannot happen anymore.
Okay. Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. I support, I want to second what Councillor Sainsbury put forward as a motion. I'm aware that we have already, that the staff have already created a work plan for the year. So I would just ask Councillor Sainsbury if she's amenable to modifying her motion, that it's that we direct staff to investigate whether there's the capacity to assist with the business planning for this year, and if not, to include it in the planning for next year.
That's fine.
Okay. I'll go to Ms. Bedford.
Through your worship, to council in general, I believe the correspondence was indicating that there was original consideration for a library in the original design of the town hall. And it was concluded back in the original drawings 3 years ago or so that there was not capacity within the building to include a library. There was some consideration given to include a library as an add-on, but at the time, there was not a sufficient budget to consider that as an option. So that would be the information that I would have provided.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? And I'll go to the Madam Clerk. The motion that Councillor Sainsbury, second by Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. That staff, be it resolved that the deputation from Mel Piper, new Tecumseth Library Board, be received, and further that staff be directed to investigate their capacity to assist with business planning for the library this year, or include this in next year's work plan.
Okay. Anything further, Mel?
No, thank you very much.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Good. Thank you. Passed. Thanks again, Mel.
Thank you.
Our next deputation is Ken Parks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Ken.
Good, very good, thank you. Mayor Milne, Deputy Mayor Norcross, and councillors, thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. And please accept our congratulations to the mayor and Councillor Sainsbury on their years of service. I know you're not always thanked for the work and effort and time you put in, but please accept the congratulations of the residents in this part of the neighborhood of Tottenham.
Thanks.
Tonight I'd like, tonight I'd like to highlight a few topics of concern to us. These include references to the new Tecumseth official plan, references to 3 LPAT decisions, and a personal issue to our property at 31 Mill Street East. First, references to the official plan. I know you've all got this on your bedside table. It's approximately 200 pages, and it's sprinkled with pictures. And my estimation is that 75 to 80% of those pictures are that of heritage buildings, including those in the major downtown cores. Clearly, heritage, designated or otherwise, is important to this town. It is aesthetic, it is cherished, and it tells a story of what was and what is protected. I direct you to the following sections of the official plan that in our opinion, support the inappropriate nature of the current application in the area of Tottenham. Under subsection 2.2, design and livability of urban areas, it states under objectives paragraph B, the objectives for design and livability within the identified settlement areas are two, I, ensure that the character and stability of existing and well-established residential neighborhoods are well maintained and enhanced by ensuring that development and redevelopment is compatible in terms of built form, character, scale, and density. Under IV 4, encourage an identification, protection, management, and use of built heritage resources wherever possible to provide continuity between the past and the present. Under subsection 5.2.2, urban residential designation, it states under objections at paragraph A, maintain and enhance the character and identity of the existing residential areas. Under the heading of infill development in established residential neighborhoods, it states under paragraph F, I, the proposed development, including built form, massing, height, is compatible with the character of the adjacent properties. II, new buildings and additions are designed in a manner that is sensitive to the location, massing, and height of adjacent properties. IV 4, the proposed development will not create a traffic hazard or an unacceptable increase in traffic on local roads. And V5, significant views and vistas which help define a residential neighborhood are preserved. Under the heading of designation under the Heritage Act, it states at paragraph I, the building or property is strongly associated with the life of a person who played an integral role in the development of the town and is well known locally, nationally, or internationally. And certainly the Totten family, Mr. John and Charlotte Totten would certainly meet that criteria. The three relevant LPAT cases I'd like to speak to are first, case number MM180068, dated May 1st, 2019, a very recent case. It was an appeal by a developer in the town of Caledon Place. The application was to construct a low-rise apartment building at a property known at 50 Allen Street. We understand the application before is not that of an apartment building, but rather townhomes. There is, however, many relevant issues within the case. It referenced the town's position that proposed development shall enhance the image of the town of Carleton Place by complementing and contributing to the character of the area, local landmarks, and certainly in our case, that would be the United Church built in 1895, the consistency and continuity of the area and its surroundings, the edges of the area, and the linkages within, to, and from the area, as well as proposed development within an established neighborhood, shall be designed to function an integral and complementary part of that area as existing development patterns have regard for massing, building height, architecture proportion, volumes of defined space, lot size, position relevant to the road, and building area to the size and area ratios. In the decision, the tribunal noted that, having reviewed the information, photographs, and plans, it is apparent to the tribunal itself that the proposal simply does not fit in the area and does not respect or complement the areas as required. Case number 2, dated August 20th, 2020, an even more recent case. This was a case in the city of Toronto that sought to rezone the subject property to allow for the construction of 6 three-story townhomes on 2 Harrison Road. The tribunal considered many of those issues in the Carleton Place file. The appeal was allowed based on the fact that within a 360-degree perspective around the subject lands, there was already a townhouse complex. If that complex did not exist, one would fairly conclude the appeal would have failed. So basically what they did, they got a compass and put it, for example, on 27 Mill Street and drew a circle around there and determined whether there was anything currently existing in that area. So if this proposal does go through and you do create these townhomes, anybody within the area of a 360 view can put that compass on and say, well, they did it over there, we can do it here. It's also interesting to note that if I basically said that. Case number 3, dated December 13, 2017, another case in Toronto that sought approval to construct a 4-story state townhome blocks. Simply put, there were 2 opposing arguments. The application opined that the current policies allowed for such a development, and the respondent, the city of Toronto, argued it did not, and it was just out of character for the neighborhood. Without highlighting all the detail within this case due to time restrictions, we note the appeal was denied and the respondent's arguments out of character won the day. This is just a sampling of a few relevant cases that there are more that can be highlighted and represent the concerns of the residents in opposition to this proposal. The concerns we have with our property at 31 Mill Street and its nature with 27 Mill Street is that I would like to point out a specific concern we have as the immediate neighbor. The grade level between the 2 properties approximates 3 feet. The eastern wall of the proposed building would overtake our home. It is massive, and this can clearly be observed by viewing the newly built linked townhomes in the
Ken, you got 30 seconds.
I think I've got 32 seconds left.
Okay, go ahead.
It can be observed viewing the built townhomes in the subdivision to the east of us. Our driveway runs the full length of our home. This is common for homes in the neighborhood. That driveway side is part of the live space of our house. We enter a home along the driveway side of the house. It was configured that way 112 years ago. We have 7 windows facing west, including a set of 3 bay windows. What is proposed will destroy that. I note that the new linked townhomes do not infringe on the neighbors in this manner. The end walls of the complex overlook a roadway. Why does the planning in a new subdivision work to respect how buildings interface with each other? Yet when you mix the old with the new, such concepts are abandoned. This is patently unfair, seems to be highly hypocritical, and cannot be considered good planning. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Appreciate that. Questions to Ken?
I have a question.
Councillor Sainsbury?
Thank you. Through you to the planner. I'm not sure which one is in attendance, but when was this application submitted? How long has it been on the books?
I'll go to Director Hoppy.
Thank you.
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Sainsbury, I don't have the file in front of me, but I believe it was submitted mid of last year, mid 2020.
Okay.
Thank you.
And when would the bylaw come forward? At the March 15 meeting? Because this is a council meeting, and we have to wait for the committee meeting for the architect to do the facade of the dwellings and see what it's going to look like. And then from there would be a committee meeting, so it would have to wait for the next council meeting. So does that take about a month and a half to get to dealing with this again?
Mr. Hoppy?
Your Worship, again, through you to Councillor Sainsbury, yes, March 1st is the committee of the whole meeting that we were directed to bring a report back on the matter. So that is on our work plan. And you are right, the action council takes on the 1st of March would go to the next meeting, which I believe is the 15th.
Well, the reason I was concerned, Your Worship, if I may, a supplementary, is because the rules were changed with Bill 108, and the time frame for us to deal with things is half the time it used to be. So I was just getting a little concerned that we're going month to month to month and not totally resolving a lot of things. So I just thought a staff could look into that as well and keep that in mind when we're preparing the documents.
Thank you. Any other questions to Ken? Okay. I have a motion be resolved that the deputation from Ken Parks be received. Councillor Lacey and second by Councillor McClellan. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Ken. Appreciate that, your time. Next deputation is from Ian Logan. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you, Mayor Milne, Deputy Norcross, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for hearing me this evening, and a shout out to the deputy clerk for really making this happen, because as lay people, we were kind of getting left behind, and we didn't realize that really we should not be at this meeting, but we are. And we want to thank you and the deputy clerk for making it happen. I just want to make some comments about my own personal life and that of my wife and our children. We've been in Tottenham since 1983. And yes, it does have to do with the development at 27 Mill Street. But these are my personal observations as I've walked around the community and I've been thinking about this development and listening to some of my neighbors who, by the way, all of whom have been here many years. And now we're aging in place. Many of us are retired, but there are still some young families out there and others that are, making the fabric the way it should be in the town. But it's our neighborhood, and I just want you to get the feel of that. We submitted a map, not a professional map, and I'm wondering if council has it in front of them, and it's right side up, because I'll be referring to that map in a few moments. Let me get started. Here are a few personal observations about traffic patterns, road and pedestrian safety in the old part of Tottenham. Mill Street East is the same size and configuration as when we moved here in 1983, and Tottenham was a village. There have been no improvements made to Mill Street East other than the excavation several times to put in a water main to service the 3 new housing subdivisions east of the CP tracks. Tottenham United Church, the Fire Hall, Keogh Park and the Band Shell, tennis courts and Ball Diamond, and the CP level crossing are all still part of this Mill Street East neighborhood. There's a pedestrian crosswalk at Keogh and Mill East to help get children safely across the street on their way to Tottenham Public School. The shoulders of the roadway are dirt from McGoey to the CP level crossing. And I'm emphasizing it's the way it's been for years. There's no curbs. What has changed is the addition of 3 new subdivisions east of the tracks. A new mall with medical clinic and a no-frills is under construction. The new residents have one way into town, and that way is Mill Street East. They must drive it or walk it to get back into the heart of town. The 4 corners, and that's what we call it here in Tottenham, but I think the council knows what I mean. Queen and Mill is the main intersection in the town. As the town has grown, of course, volume of traffic has increased. But I want to point out that there is still, and may never be, there is no left turn lane going northbound on Queen Street North. And there is no left turn lane at Mill going southbound. Consequently, eager beaver motorists are avoiding the intersection and traveling through Richmond Street East and Wilson Street to make their eastbound turn via Forrestal or Dickerson onto Mill. And hopefully we're showing that to you on that map. Most people are just trying to avoid the 4 corners. And so they're circumventing what's there, and they're taking roads, Richmond to Forrestal, Richmond to Keogh, Wilson to Dickerson to go eastbound on Mill Street. And I have to admit, I do it too. If I go to the post office, I have to drive away from the post office going southbound to make a left onto Richmond to get back to my driveway on Mill. So we all do it. But I'm making the point that all the new folks and anyone that wants to go further east, that's the way they're doing it. Dickerson and Forrestal Streets bound the proposed townhouse development that is before us this evening to the west and north. Dickerson and Forrestal form an offset intersection at Mill Street. It's offset by about 100 feet, as I calculated. This is where the developer proposes 5 new driveways. And that's the asterisk on our drawing there. It's very difficult for us as current residents to frankly back out of our driveways as it is now. But as this development comes and as more and more traffic comes, it's going to be all the more difficult to get out of even our own driveway. I note that I think the fire chief noted that there's about at least 12 trains going through Tottenham daily. As a result, traffic has to back up on Mill Street East to the point now of sometimes blocking Dickerson and Forrestal. In fact, I had to ask one lady one evening just to move her car so I could try to squeeze out onto Mill Street because of the train traffic and the stop traffic. The church, Tottenham United Church, been there since 1895, is located at Mill Street and Dickerson, directly across the street from the proposed development. The church has no on-site parking. The church therefore counts on having street parking on Dickerson and Mill Street East, both sides of the street. Besides services of worship, weddings, and funerals, the church has rental space for an Ontario early on childcare, Weight Watchers, brownies, and so on, weekdays and evenings. The townhouse proposal will take 1 block of parking away from the church, right across the street from them. Where will that parking migrate to, but up and down Mill Street and further away from the church? Tottenham Fire Hall and the ambulance services are located on Mill Street East. Additional traffic. Yes, sir.
Ian, you have 30 seconds.
I can do it.
I know you can.
Thank you. Additional traffic and driveways will only impede the emergency services vehicles. Mill Street East is a major footpath to downtown Tottenham, parks, and school. Again, adding 5 more driveways to this major pedestrian pathway only adds more safety hazards. I've observed as I walked around our community, I don't think it's any secret, that homeowners generally are not using their garages for their vehicles, but for storage. Most families have 2 cars. Where will the second car be placed in this townhouse development? Only, I'm sure, on the road. The argument, therefore, is that this proposal is only going to add to the congestion of an already busy area and will add an additional hazard to both vehicle and pedestrian traffic. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of council, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, for your kind attention. And if there are questions, I'm here.
Good. Thank you very much, Ian, and thank you and Ken for the passion that you have in your neighborhood. Kudos to you and your neighbors, Matt. Questions, Councillor Lacey?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's not actually a question for the speaker. I was just wondering, could we bring forward item CW 5.1 just to speak to this with relation to the deputations?
CW 5.1, the application for zoning bylaw amendment, NAK Building Service Limited, care of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, 27 Mill Street East, Community of Tottenham, file number development 399. And that's the one you want for October, Councillor Lacey? Okay.
Yes, it is, Your Worship.
Okay. I think it's reasonable that the last speaker and Ian speak works right into this. So go ahead.
Thank you. Let me start off by saying to Mr. Parks and Mr. Logan, thank you very much for speaking tonight. You guys have brought up some really good concerns and spoken very well about those concerns. And based on those, I would like to propose a motion that we actually deny this application. The home itself, we want to preserve our heritage within our communities. We want to ensure that we're looking at the concerns of traffic and the concerns of our pedestrians and citizens within the area. Adding a home of this size in this area, I think, will cause traffic concerns and issues within the safety of the pedestrians. And it also doesn't fit within the existing environment and architectural aspects. So I'd like to propose that we deny the application and just, that's it.
Okay. And does he have a seconder? Councillor McClellan seconds it. You wish to speak? Councillor McClellan, you wish to speak or just second? Okay, Councillor Sainsbury.
Thank you, through you to, I guess, the planner. I'm not so sure when we have other requests, and this was not the motion, they're not prepared for this. It's going to the March 1 meeting and on to the March 15 meeting. And they have worked with us all the way along to try and cooperate and trying to keep the house the height it is, only with a different style. They're now working on making it look more Victorian. And to short circuit this in the middle of a total project, I don't think is fair. First of all, we were just supposed to do the motion tonight, which said we were going to look for the facade report on March 1. So I'm not just too sure. We were supposed to have dealt with this in about 90 days. And I've just been told it started a year ago, this whole thing. And there's been a great deal of time and effort trying to cooperate with the neighbors and so on. And as far as having driveways back out onto a road, Victoria Street West and Victoria Street East have many beautiful Victorian homes in Alliston, and there's 32,000 cars a day. And they back out of their driveways. So we haven't got the traffic report because it comes after we decide what the use is. So I'm just concerned that we have a favorable report from the planner. It's going to be very hard to find somebody who can take this to LPAT. And I know our solicitor always has problems. It's better to negotiate and mediate. And I thought that's all along why I supported it. I thought that's what we have been trying to do. And just all of a sudden to pull it in the middle of a process where we haven't even looked at what the new design may be, which might be suitable, or it could be scaled down. That's what they're working on. And that's why we gave them in good faith till March the 1st. So I just think that it's unfair to do that at this particular time, when that is not what anybody was expecting who has dealt with this issue. So I can't support it tonight. I can debate it when we get all the balance of the documentation that we have in good faith requested. Now, a lot of debt and time and money has gone into that. And I just think that it's not totally fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sainsbury. Councillor Noah?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a tendency to agree with Councillor Sainsbury. I'd like to wait until we receive the information from the planners on the new look of the buildings that are supposed to be built. And I can't support the motion that was just put on the floor. I'd like to hear from the planners first before I make my decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jebb?
I want to agree with Councillor Sainsbury and Councillor Noy that hopefully they've listened to our comments already and the first round of discussion to make it, instead of 5 homes, narrow it down to maybe 3 homes, 2 homes, because 2 families are already living in that building now. So let's see what they come back with, and let's see what this facade report brings us, and then we can make the final decision. But hopefully they've listened to what council is looking for, and they're working with our staff.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, just before we deal with this, Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. I sit here and listen to this, and in our last conversation when Mr. Parks, I certainly had some opposition to it, but I have to wonder about process. In process, I'd like to think that we would take the same approach if the development individuals were trying to circumvent the system in opposition to our residents. So my gut instinct as I sit here is that simply allow them to come back on March 1st. We've simply lived up to an obligation to have them come back. I recall comments from Mr. Parks and there was another lady, I can't recall her name off the top of my head. And the comment was, we're not necessarily opposed to this development. It's the nature of the development. We did receive some comments that they were willing to cooperate. And I think really without saying I'm either in favor or opposed to it, I'm certainly on the fence and have significant concerns. But I have an awful lot of concerns to just tonight to jump forward and say no in the middle of the process. We may find ourselves and may come back to bite us. And I don't think procedure is proper in this particular event. So I just can't support this motion. That's not an endorsement of the project at all. It's just simply saying we have to have process, and I think there needs to be an element of fairness. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Deputy Mayor Norcross?
Thank you, Your Worship. I got booted off there, so I missed most of the conversation, but at least my young gentleman's son could get me back on. I missed most of the dialogue, but I did hear Councillor Lacey's comments, and I just want to add my own. So actually, I'll support Councillor Lacey's motion. And I'll tell you what, I understand the need for intensification, especially in our urban areas. But I've said this before in other projects. I believe it should conform to the existing neighborhoods and the existing types of housing fabrics in these neighborhoods. In my opinion, this proposal will not complement the existing heritage homes and lot sizes. I feel the proposed density of these units will not provide a positive impact and will take away from the unique character of the existing neighborhood. Therefore, I can't support the application. And why I would like to make my comments known is I understand having the applicant go back and see what designs, what architectural designs could be done, or how you can make it and blend it. But before a proponent spends additional money on additional studies on a project that I don't initially and can't support because of the intensification, I feel it's prudent that I advise them up front that I think the 5 is too much, and therefore I can't support that. So I just wanted to support Councillor Lacey, and I think it's prudent at this time to make my intentions known. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Everyone's had a Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to echo the comments that were said by Councillor Foster. This is not an endorsement of the project. This is not something that I want to see happen in this area, but we committed to giving them the time to come back, and we are continuing to work with them to try and find something that would satisfy both the province, which is infill, but also which could in fact add to the area. The concerns have been noted, and they're absolutely valid, and they need to be addressed. So let's see if they can be addressed, and if by the meeting, then we can make a decision about what next steps we want to make. But let's give them the opportunity to hear us and change their direction of their plan and potentially bring back something that would benefit the community.
Thank you. I'll go to the acting clerk to read the motion that was by Councillor Lacey and second by Councillor McClellan.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Lacey, that the application for a zoning bylaw amendment by NAK Building Service Limited, care of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group for 27 Mill Street East, Community of Tottenham, be denied.
Correct.
Everyone's heard the motion? All in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, all in favor, you said, Your Worship.
Yes.
You don't need the other cards yet.
Okay, thank you. You're confusing me. Okay, all in favor or all against? A no vote? Motion doesn't carry. Thank you. Back to the original motion. Be resolved that a report of PD 2021-01 be received and further that the deputation of Caroline Baker, Baker Planning Group, John Norcott, JD Engineering, and James Fred of James Fred Architect Inc., Ken Parks and Kathy Hohenvick be received and further staff be directed to work with the developer to bring forward additional options for the facade for the proposed housing development to meet the existing neighborhood, and further that a report be brought forward to the next committee of the whole meeting scheduled for March 1st, 2021, with the proposed design for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor, your request to speak, Councillor Lacey?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions there, Your Worship, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll get it on the floor and then we'll go. Moved by Councillor Sainsbury, seconder. Councillor Now. Questions? Councillor Lacey.
Yeah, I believe the motion just says the facade. Aren't we, we were just talking, some of the comments a second ago were in relation to the number of units, in addition to the size, as well as the facade. Are we just talking the facade or are we talking the entire package?
I'll go to the director, Hoppy.
Your Worship, through you, the resolution as it states does speak to the facade at this stage. So if council wants us to specifically address any of the other development matters on the site, now would be the time to add those.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Councillor McClellan and back to Councillor Foster. I'm sorry, Councillor McIntyre. Harrison McIntyre. Sorry, Stephanie.
Thank you, Your Worship. The density of the housing the entrances onto Mill Street. Those are two other items of major concern.
Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. My Honourable Councillor Harrison McIntyre has picked up the 2 points I was going to refer to. Thank you.
I just giving the acting clerk a chance. Is there anything else? That's all there.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Your Worship, what we could do is we can amend the third paragraph. Just give me one moment. Work with it to. Okay, so through Your Worship, we could say, and further that staff be directed to work with the developer to address density of the housing entrances on Mill Street, and to bring forward additional options for the facade for the proposed housing development to meet the existing neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Do you have a mover and seconder?
Through Your Worship, we have Councillor Sainsbury and Councillor Noy.
Okay. Are you both still willing to move and second? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to Ian. Have a motion move and seconder be resolved that the deputation from Ian Logan be received. Councillor Lacey, seconder. Councillor Jebb, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next is CW52 and Councillor Harrison McIntyre. Oh, I'm sorry. 4-2.
Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, Councillor Harrison McIntyre. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Mover and seconder be resolved that the report of CS 2020-07 be received, and further that the asset management presentation be received, and further that the corporate asset management plan, asset information, and asset risk strategy be approved and moved. One more. Oh, one more. I apologize. Oh, that's better. Be resolved that the council support the efforts made by Ventec Inc. to apply for a provincial and federal grant under the Improved Connective for Ontario Universal Broadband Fund, thereby enhancing the rural broadband activities through the town of New Tecumseth. Councillor Jebb has called a conflict of interest. Moved by Councillor Harrison McIntyre, second by Councillor McClellan. Questions? Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to ask that we amend this motion to make it more broad. So change it so that, and further that council support the efforts made by Vianet to the efforts made by selected service providers, and just to keep our options open.
Good. Councillor McClellan, are you agreed to that second? The second, good, thank you. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried, thank you. CW51. Two. And Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Worship. I called CW52.
Yes.
Is it that the one? Okay. So this is the CIP grant. And so the initial proposal that we had two different signs. The correspondence came back that they had ordered the sign, not the cedar one, but the other one. Unfortunately, though, the picture that's provided is a flat colored copy that doesn't really give you a sense of what the sign looks like. That being said, as the sign has already been ordered, I think we would have an opportunity to view the sign and then agree to the CIP grant, only because the amount, I think that this is an opportunity for council to start to really set a direction for the kind of quality signage that we're seeing in the municipality and to encourage that. And so since they're planning on getting the sign anyway, if it's something that absolutely is fits with our CIP grant, then we would go ahead and give that to them. However, if it's clearly not, which we can't tell from the photos, then we would be able to reconsider that.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Okay, just.
Councillor Noyle?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's just a question. When the applicant fills out a grant application for a sign, do they present the signage to, when they're filling out the application, some idea what the sign looks like? Or how does this work? Can somebody explain that to me, please?
I'll go to Director Hoppy.
Thanks, Mayor Milne. Through you to Councillor Noy. Yes, the materials and the graphics and the parameters around the signage, proposed signs are submitted when they do put in the material for the application. And most of that is actually attached to the staff reports. So that's what we would analyze, yes.
Good, thank you. Councillor
Supplementary, please.
Certainly.
So when the applicant comes in and he presents, say, his idea for a sign, this is to Director Hoppy, does the planning department give him the okay that that sign will fit in this, like for the grant application? And if it does, how can we tell, say to the applicant who is purchasing the sign that he can't have that sign when somebody has given them the direction that he can go with that sign? That's my question, please.
Director Hoppy.
Again, through you, Mayor Milne, the couple of questions in there, I guess. So in most of our dealings on these applications, the signs haven't been ordered until there's some council direction on which sign or which design that council would prefer. Certainly staff, when we do meet with the applicant, we do go over the guidelines and we do provide them with some commentary. In this particular instance, these are all painted signs. So I believe what you see on the drawings that are attached to the report really, won't change too much. It's certainly, there's a different material on one of the signs, the Western Red Cedar, which I think council picked up on. But certainly the look of the sign, regardless of which particular, there are 3 quotes attached. The look of the sign would be essentially the same. And quite honestly, the biggest direction in our guidelines is that in the heritage in the downtowns is we do not permit nor encourage backlit signs. So certainly that was the main criteria we looked at. So that all 3 of these designs do not have a backlit option. They would be lit from a gooseneck, if at all. So that was the main criteria that was discussed with the proponent.
Good, thank you. Councillor Sainsbury and then Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was concerned they purchased it before we made the final decision, because the sign that we see that's with the report just looks like a big long white box with colored teeth. I don't see where's the white cedar, unless the white box is made of white cedar wood or something. Is white cedar is the type of wood? I assume it's not the color.
Director
Or are
Hoppy.
they painting cedar and making it white? Like, it was never easy to understand how this sign was going to look finished.
Director Hoppy.
Through your worship, yes, it's my understanding that these are painted wood signs. So again, the one that they've chosen to go with was a slightly a less expensive sign, $4,500, as opposed to the red cedar material, which was $5,800. So I believe also the actual lettering that is being affixed to the board is being constructed of cut out PVC that again are either painted or it's already colored. So those are the particulars in the quote.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Councillor Foster and then Councillor McIntyre.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Taking us back to the last meeting when we first discussed this, the sign that came, or the quote that came in had two different signs on it. And I'd have to go back and look at the footage from the TV, which I will do after this meeting. We specifically, as committee of the whole, suggested that the cedar sign was the preferred sign that we wanted to go with. If that's my recollection is correct, and the answer would be is we committed then, if we proceed tonight to formalize the approval based on the cedar sign. If they choose to go out and buy something different and go against what we recommend, and the simple answer is you don't get your funding.
That's right.
If you come back with the cedar sign that we proposed, then we have an obligation to proceed with the $2,500. So I believe, I haven't had a previous discussion with Councillor McIntyre, but I believe that's what the comment tonight was, just confirming that they're going with the cedar sign that this council approved last meeting. Am I correct?
Thank you. Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Worship. No, in fact, they're not going with the cedar sign. They're going with the PVC sign with it's a wood textured background. So again, it could be very tasteful. It could look great at the end of the day. I'm just suggesting that we wait on approving the CIP grant until we've had an opportunity to view it. And then if it's something that absolutely is, fantastic and we want to support it, then we can look at the application again. But because what's presented in the report is very challenging to visualize, if there had been a link to an image online, then we could have seen it in action and seen what we're actually looking at, then it wouldn't have been possible. But at this point, it's hard to say based on the description, whether it's something that is going to actually fit into our vision. So I would say, let's defer this or put it off or deny it, and they can come back with an application. I'm not sure if a deferral is an option.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. If council would like to amend the motion and indicate that staff be directed to obtain photographs from the applicant of the chosen sign and report back to the next committee of the whole meeting on March 1st, or we can report it back to the council meeting.
Councillor Harrison McIntyre, is that what you're at?
That's fine. I was suggesting we take a drive-by, but I think that would be fine too.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Sainsbury?
I'll second the motion. I just wondered, so this is going to the council meeting of March 1, not starting all over again at committee of the whole and then have to wait till the 15th to be ratified. I'm just questioning the timing for ratification.
Back at the council meeting.
Because it's a whole month away as it is, and it would be 6 weeks if we can't do it to council on the 15th. And they probably want to get the sign up and do business on it, I assume.
They do. Councillor Foster?
I support the context of what's being said here. I just think we should have some clarity. How is everybody satisfied that they can actually see the sign? I don't think 10 people are going to drive by, and it's fair to ask them to buy it, and then we'll make a decision. I don't believe they've purchased it. If they have, we haven't approved it yet. So we just add to that motion that there be some form of clarity, how they clearly define to us what kind of a sign they have, and then we can make a decision, approve it at council or deny it at council next month. That would be my only suggestion.
The clerk is shaking her head, yes. Deputy Mayor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just curious, who normally approves the signs that are submitted in? Thank you.
Director Hoppy.
Your Worship, through you to the Deputy Mayor, if it's just a regular sign permit, if that's what you're asking, they would go through our bylaw department who issues permits for them. In this particular application is done through our community improvement plan, and the planning department accepts applications and processes them in accordance with the guidelines.
Thank you.
Good. All right. I look towards the clerk.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. So be it resolved that PD 2021-02 be received. Further, that the additional information memorandum to item CW52 from the Senior Planner Policy Planning dated February 1st, 2021 be received. And further, that staff be directed to obtain photographs from the applicant of the sign chosen and report back to the next council meeting on March 1st, 2021.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one is CS1 and the Deputy Mayor call to conflict.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would actually request that we go into camera with this. I believe there's some more. Yeah, my recommendation. And the information's coming from the CAO. Thank you.
Did council want to deal with the other two matters before we go in camera?
Yes.
Okay. PM4. That's when I thought the Deputy Mayor has a conflict.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a conflict. Thank you.
Okay. Look for a mover and a second. Be resolved. A report of PD 2021-06 be received, and further that the presentation of UJA made it of costing consultant, the three ladies, how's that, and of the ASI Heritage be received, and further that the deputation of Kirk Gardner be received, and further that staff continue to work with the project consultant to consider and incorporate any comments or concerns identified at the stationary public meeting, where appropriate, into the proposed Beaton Heritage Conservation District Plan, prior to bringing a recommendation report forward to the Committee of the Whole. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor McClellan, second by Councillor Noy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And the next one is PM 5. And Councillor Beattie and Councillor Jebb has a conflict of interest. And you're back in, Deputy Mayor. Be resolved, a report of PD 2021 be received, and further that the presentation of the Robert Chicken Dance of Farside Homes and Vanessa Simpson of Innovate Planning Solution be received, and further that the deputation of Ryan Lynch and Deborah Flint files, be received, and further that staff continue to work through any issues pertaining to application file number NT 2001 and development number 392 prior to bringing forward a recommendation report to the Committee of the Whole. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Sainsbury, second by Councillor Foster. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I believe the last item is the, we're going in camera. Yes.
Did you want to do the verbal report of the CAO, Your Worship?
That's exactly, yeah. Thanks, thanks, Mr. Lacey. I'll go to the CAO.
Good evening, Mayor Milne, Deputy Mayor Norcross, and members of council. Tonight, somewhat different than previous updates to council with respect to the town's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is not so much an operational update, but more of a plea or a call to action. We have been saying it for a long time now, and unfortunately, we need to keep saying it. We must absolutely work together, and we all need to do our part. And now more than ever is the time to stay home, stay safe, and save lives. We continue to see the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 virus. The death toll is rising, and ours are the numbers of positive COVID-19 cases and individuals requiring treatment and care in our hospitals. They are not just numbers. They are our friends, our neighbors, our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, and our children. A new and highly contagious variant of COVID-19 has been confirmed in neighboring communities, and we understand it can spread through communities at an alarming rate. The COVID-19 pandemic, the virus and its variants are not a community-specific concern, but rather a concern for all of us. This virus does not respect geographic or political boundaries. We need to battle this nightmare across boundaries, across our communities, united together, but apart. The province's stay-home order requires each of us to stick with only our own household. Do not visit others or have visitors. We are all required to obey this stay-at-home order and only leave home for essential purposes, such as going to the grocery store, the pharmacy, accessing healthcare services, for exercise, or for essential work. We need to shout as loud as we can and repeatedly, regularly to everyone, stay home. If you do not, more of our neighbors, our family members, our colleagues, and our friends will lose their lives. No amount of policy from any level of government will be effective if people don't adhere to it. Success truly does lie within the hands of each and every one of us. Our messaging from the start has been simple: just do your part. And now, as we sit here today, we're pleading with people, you have to do more. And with that, Mayor Milne, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, but I can't stress enough the seriousness of the situation as we sit here.
Definitely. Very serious. Questions to the CAO? Councillor Niall.
Thank you, Worship. It's just it's a comment more than anything. Region and Peel has a lot more cases than what we do in Simcoe County. My question is, I drive by through Palgrave, and there's a pond off to the right, which there's 4 rinks located on the pond. There's children out there skating. It's a Canadian tradition. It's a Canadian way. Who made the decision in closing our ponds down in our area? And this jeopardizes the children in having fun on the weekends and skating on the pond. So I just can't get it through my head why Peel has more cases than what County of Simcoe does, and they allow the ponds, but yet we don't. So can somebody explain that to me, please?
Go to the CAO.
Through you, Mayor Milne, to Councillor Noy. To be quite frank, Councillor Noy, it's not safe for children to be out on the ponds. The ice itself is not a safe place to be. We have the Tottenham outdoor rink open for leisure skating. I can certainly appreciate the desire for kids to be outside and playing. I think we'd all like to be enjoying these times a lot more than what we are. However, the ice on the ponds and those areas simply just isn't safe.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
So really going old school in around our area, people have gone out into the fields where the water kind of pools, and they've been skating around there. That definitely isn't a risk of drowning. And, it's really exciting to see people being so creative. I can tell you, Councillor Noy, from past experience in skating down in Palgrave, I'm fairly certain that that's run by the Rotary Club down there, which is, not municipally run or operated. So they have their own rules and provisions, But I would like to echo what the CAO said, that more important than anything is everyone staying safe.
Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Mill. Through you to the CAO, just another comment. I think just as a point of observation is, you touched on something, and I think we all appreciate it. For those of us that had family members that have had COVID-19 or close interaction, this certainly hits home closer than anything else. But I think one thing maybe is that the definitions from the federal government, the provincial government, and the municipal government do not necessarily align. And I think what it does is it creates a sense of what is essential. I mean, our government, and this is not an indictment on anybody, it's just a comment, is that provincially, we have big box stores open. We have banks open. We have drugstores open. We have curbside service open. But yet at the municipal level, we tell everyone to stay home. So those are contradictory statements. I think the one point that we need to add into the whole mix is if you do go out and people have different reasons for being out for essential reasons, if you do go out, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away, and wear a mask. That'd be my only additional comment is that definitely some of those things that we're preaching municipally, the provincial government is saying you can go out for other reasons. So I just think it's important to address the people that we recognize the provincial mandate. But if you do go out, and for whatever you do, adhere to those rules. Because some people have reasons for being out and they go outside of what we've just said in this meeting here tonight, respectfully.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Anyone else? I look for a mover and second be resolved that the verbal report of the CAO be received. Moved by Councillor Jebb, second by Councillor Foster. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll take a few seconds before we go in camera. Have a mover and second, we go in camera. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Jebb. All in favor? Carried. Just take a few minutes, Council, till Pam gets this all wired up here. Okay. Motion moved by Councillor Jebb, and second by Councillor Sainsbury that we go into open session at what time?
8:44, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Have a motion then to be resolved that the verbal report of the CAO be received, moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Beatty. All in favor? Carried, thank you. With a motion for a bylaw. Be resolved the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Bylaw 2021-010, a bylaw to authorize the sign and execution of an agreement with Alina Jurain and Sean Tottenham of Mill Street Family Dental under the Community Improvement Plan. Moved by Councillor Harrison McIntyre, second by Councillor McClellan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Are we, Your Worship, were we not waiting?
I thought we were waiting
Are we going to wait on that? You want to wait? Okay.
for the pictures.
Yes, the bylaw.
Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Okay.
Want us to get pictures.
All right, we'll go to general information announcements. Councillor Jebb.
Thank you, Worship. I've got a couple of announcements. Canadian Federation of Agriculture is declaring February 9th as Freedom Day, and that's when they figure that the Canadians spent on their groceries that feed their families. Canadians spent 11% of their disposable income on food in 2020, with slightly higher than 10.9% of disposable income on food in 2019. With a significant increase in per capita food and beverage expenditures, they've estimated $4,091 Food Freedom Day, and they've moved it to February 9th. The rise in food expenditures would have seen a more dramatic effect were it not for an increase in household disposable income in late 2020 to mitigate some of the increased costs. It's been a challenging year financial environment for many Canadians, and Food Freedom Day presents an opportunity to highlight all the work producers undertake to produce food efficiently and affordably every day. And farmers only receive a small percentage of the price that consumers pay for food, particularly when the costs of productions are taken into account. Canadian farmers continue to adapt to widely varying costs and inputs such as fuel and fertilizer, and to balance their plans against uncertainties in the marketplace. So February the 9th is Food Freedom Day. Then the Ontario Federation of Agriculture has got a burger challenge out for everybody. And Canada's Agriculture Day is going to be on, I can't find my day now. Sorry. I'll keep looking for that one. The other announcement is February the 19th is the 124th anniversary of Women's Institutes in Ontario. So for 124 years, the WI has been actively involved in Ontario, across the country and around the world. So celebrating on February the 19th, and we hope to be able to have that declared by the town. And as well, the mayor and we participated in Roma this past week, and then I had the opportunity to attend it, and a couple of the different speakers. Speakers included Premier Ford, the official leader of the opposition, Andrea Harworth, leader of the Liberal and the Green Party. Premier Ford announced that in the 2020 budget, $142 billion over the next 10 years for strategic infrastructure projects. And for this year's budget, 2021, another $200 million to go to Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund to help the 424 small, rural, and northern communities for critical infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, water, and wastewater. And the theme through the whole Roma conference was internet and broadband. $71 million to Eastern Ontario and $637 million to SWIFT, which is the Southwestern Internet Fiber Technology, which we are part of. And every minister and every MPP spoke about how this pandemic has brought forward the problem that the broadband has in the rural areas. Chantal Hebert from Toronto Star was the keynote speaker. And she says that she thinks the only non-pandemic bill that will be passed is the Bill C7, the Act to amend the Criminal Code on the medical assistance of dying. So that was a busy week last week. And here, Food Freedom Day is February 9th. And Burger Day is February 23rd. And I think it would be kind of fun for everybody to make a burger and post it on Twitter. I'm sure Deputy Mayor Norcross can make a mean burger and put it on Twitter. He's always on Twitter. Anyways, thank you, Your Worship, for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Harrison McIntyre.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to announce that I'm doing a fundraiser for Next Step, the Literacy Council, and it's for Valentine's Day. Speaking of food, we're getting local, ethically sourced chocolate from a place in Ontario, and they get their cacao from small producers, farms, and they use just 2 ingredients, the cacao and organic cane sugar. So we're going to have chocolate experts on a Zoom call leading us through a tasting. And if you're interested in signing up to get a box, as Councillor Jebb already has, and supporting Next Step, free adult tutoring, then just go to nextstepliteracy.ca and you can sign up there.
Good, thank you. Councillor Lacey.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a little early, but since we don't have another meeting until March, I wanted to wish my daughter Hayden a happy 18th birthday.
Wow.
This Friday. Come here, Hayden. Come here.
Oh, I didn't realize it was coming on camera.
Say hi.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you. So happy birthday this Friday, honey.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Well done, Lacey. Deputy Mayor Norcross.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is the Councillor Chair Harrison McIntyre. Can you put me in for those chocolates? Because I was late to the party last time you did a fundraiser and it was completely sold out and there was nothing left. So I'm committing you to you right now that I'm in and I will do it tomorrow.
Okay, I'll put you down for the big box.
I knew you would.
So much for that diet, Richard.
Yeah, fair enough. With the big burger. Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Anyone else?
I forgot to mention too that our Good Roads Association conference is coming up the end of the month, and we've got some great speakers lined up, and there's some good opportunities for the staff as well to sit in on some of the topics. So it sounds like it's going to be a good conference. So hope to see other people there.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Jebb. And if there isn't anything else, it's Black History Month. The municipality is going to recognize it. And also tomorrow is Toque Day. We're Toque, and the money from will go to the charity. I believe it's my sister plate that receiving the funds for Toque Day. So other than that, is there anything else left off? And look for mover and seconder. Be resolved with the bylaw of 2021-011 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on February 1st, 2021. Be read a first, second, and third time enacted. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Sainsbury. All in favor? Good. Don't forget tomorrow's Groundhog Day. And also a motion moved by Councillor Jebb, resolved the meeting adjourns at
8:54, Your Worship.
Just move your head a little bit, Councillor McLeod. Yes, you're right on. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. We're just going to take about a 5-minute break, give Pam a chance to get set for the committee of the whole. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Welcome, council and staff, and ladies and gentlemen, stayed with us for our committee of the whole meeting. And first thing is awards and recognition, and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a recognition. It's in regards to the big red heart beat and supports you that was placed at Roberta Place in Barrie. It's very similar to one that was erected at the Simcoe Manor in Beaton. On Sunday, Your Worship, I received a message from General Manager Jane Sinclair of Simcoe County, who's also in charge of the long-term care homes. She's inquiring about the heart placed at Roberta Place and did I know anything about it. She said it was absolutely amazing. The amount of thank yous from the staff at Roberta Place and the residents, including all the staff, doctors, nurses, support staff at Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, has been incredible, General Manager Jane Sinclair saying. She also advised that they are all beyond appreciative. It has lifted their spirits a tremendous amount, Your Worship. I advised General Manager Jane Sinclair that I did know who it was, and I told her it's an incredible group of people here in Beaton, and it was particularly Sherry and Drew Cheatham, Trudy Lamport, Byron Kaiser, and Victoria Bim, and of course there were other members of the community who made the sign happen at Roberta's Place. I advised the General Manager that I would thank the members of our community for doing what they did. The General Manager said, you know, they have no idea how much that has lifted everybody's spirits and how much that meant to them, and the fact that people from down in New Tecumseth would come up and show their support, Your Worship. So I just wanted to pass that on to everybody, and of course, for myself and council and the mayor, say thank you to all those involved. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. That's good news. Terrible news about Roberta Place. So I asked the clerk to identify any items to add or delete, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are no items to add or delete.
A mover and second about the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting held on February 1st, 2021 be confirmed as circulated in the minute. Moved by Councillor Beattie, second by Councillor Foster. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of a pecuniary interest. If anyone has a pecuniary interest, call now or when the item comes up, we'll deal with it. I'll go to the clerk to identify items for separate. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Worship. I have to declare a conflict on CS1 closed as I work for the solicitor on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I saw somebody else.
I was too quick on the draw, Mayor Milne. My apologies.
Okay. All right, then. I'll go to the clerk to identify items for separate discussion and the reasons thereof.
Thank you, Your Worship. CW2, 1, Heritage Advisory Committee, summary report dated January 12th, 2021, recommendation. CW52, application for zoning bylaw amendment, Walton South Simcoe Residential Development Corporation, care of Robert Schickendance, Block 142 on Plan 51M 1053, West Country Subdivision, Community of Beaton, file number DEV 396. We have deputation. And item C-S-1, verbal report of the town solicitor closed, read Town of New Tecumseth at the suit of Dallard. We have a verbal, and also Councillor McClellan has a pecuniary interest.
Thank you. Did you wish to, members that are? Okay, I'll go to council to identify any items for separate discussion. We'll start crossways. Councillor Noy.
Thank you, Worship. CW3, CW42. Thank you.
CW3. Okay, Councillor Foster.
Mayor Milne, CW31, I think that's probably the same one that Councillor Noy was asking for. CW46 and CW56, please.
Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Worship. CW52 and CW56, please.
Thank you. Councillor Jeb.
CW53.
Thank you. Councillor Beatty, did you have your card up?
Mine have been pulled, Your Worship. I'll speak when they come up. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I'll go back to the clerk to summarize all items for separate discussion.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. CW21, CW31, Temporary Restaurant Patios Program, CW42, Citizen Appointment to the Museum on the Boyne Advisory Committee. And just to note with that, if we're going to be speaking about the actual member being appointed, it would have to go to closed. CW46, 2021 Current Borrowing Bylaw. CW52, CW53, Application for Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Dorsey Farms Limited, care of Giancarlo Di Giambasti, Giancarlo's Design Services, 6204, 10th line, file number DEV 400. CW56, award of consulting fees, New Tecumseth Administration Center, 25 Albert, and CS1.
Thank you. Mover second, that all items not identified for separate discussion be received and the recommendation therein be recommended to council for adoption. Councillor Foster, thank you, Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. DW2. I'm getting real echo.
Oh, something's ringing.
Thank you. Have a motion moved by, have a motion that the Heritage Advisory Committee Summary Report dated January 12, 2021 be received with a recommendation 1, the staff be directed to proceed with the designation process of 130 Wellington Street West, Alliston, as set out in Part 4, subsection 29(1) of the Ontario Heritage Act. Recommendation 2, that staff be directed to proceed with adding the property located at 103 Center Street North in Beaton to register of the significant properties. Mover and second, Councillor Harris McIntyre, Councillor McClellan. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. CW31 and Councillor Noyle and Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to do up a motion stating that we waive the fees like we did last year on these temporary restaurant patios. It was a great success, and it was really nice during the summer to see all the residents and tourists or whatever taking advantage of the situation. It was really good to see, and I hope more businesses will get involved. So I'd like to do that motion up that we waive the fees.
Okay. Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Through you, I believe, maybe to Mr. Bishop. On page 17, page 1 of the report, there's a comment that says the Temporary Restaurant Patio Program provided restaurants that, quote, do not have a permanent patio space on their property with the opportunity to take advantage of the summer weather. I would just think that has to be amended. Is what you have on your existing property, I don't believe should have any impact on a property that was curbside on the street. That was question number 1. And the second part I'd like clarification for is on the second page, second paragraph under comments and considerations. And it says, as well as additional streets in downtown Alliston, and by encouraging greater participation in the private property stream of the program throughout the municipality. It's like some clarification to exactly what the reference is, what it's indicating, please.
Okay, I'll go to our Economic Development Officer, Mr. Bishop.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Foster. With respect to the second question, I'll address very quickly. The reference there is to, so last year the program on the curbside end of things operated in partnership with the ABIA. Was only to be operated in Alliston. That was the intent to operate it as a pilot project, see if it was a successful endeavor, and look to implement it again in future years. That was the sort of consensus feedback that we got, that it was successful. We also did get some commentary that people would like to see it in Beaton and Tottenham as well, and seeing that it was able to be implemented fairly easily, I guess, in Alliston. Beaton and Tottenham are logical extensions as well. When it comes to encouraging greater participation on the private property end of things for expanding the program, last year we were faced with frankly, an incredibly tight timeline to get the program up and running, get applications processed, and get the restaurants issued their permits. Didn't have a great deal of opportunity to market the program to the potential participants, and frankly, the window for the patio season was relatively small by the time the public health restrictions were loosened last year. So the intent this year is, given a little more runway in terms of time to get everything up and running, get the applications in process. We're hoping to see the program expand in terms of the number of participants. With respect to the first piece on page 1 of the report, just to clarify your question, were you looking at as to why the bump out structures were referenced in terms of patios not being on their property? Was that the question?
Thank you. Just to clarify, in the 4th line down in background, it said the TRPPs provided restaurants that do not have a permanent patio space on their property. I was reading it as, if you had a permanent space on your property, does that disqualify you from applying for the program? And I just wanted to ensure that there was that wasn't the way it was reading. So does that make sense of what I'm asking?
Through to Councillor Foster, you're correct. So a good example of a restaurant that has a patio in place right now would be Boston Pizza on Yonge Street in Alliston. They had a permanent space. They utilized the program to actually expand their patio space to use some of the parking spaces that were available there. They're not precluded from participating in the program if there's space and an ability to do so, as long as it fits the parameters of the program. Any restaurant in town is frankly encouraged to participate.
Councillor Foster.
Thank you for that. And that provides clarification. So I'm glad to hear that. Just back to your first comment, I read your full report, and I think it's wonderful that we're expanding outside of Alliston and Beaton. I just, in reading that one paragraph there, it just referred to in the private property stream of the program. I just didn't follow the logic. Like you said, staff are recommending the program to be expanded by increasing the catchment areas to Beaton and Tottenham. Fantastic. As well as additional streets in Alliston. I just wondered why the reference to private property stream. Looking for clarification of what you were saying. That's all. It wasn't that I was opposed to anything in Beaton and Tottenham. I think it's wonderful.
Okay. Councillor McClellan.
I think I'm going to declare on this.
I
do have a new job with Boston Pizza. It kind of took me a minute to click in my head. I have so many jobs, I lose track. So I am going to declare on this. My apologies for not doing it sooner. Thank you.
I was just going to ask you as soon as I heard Boston Pizza. All right. Any other questions? Councillor Foster.
sorry, at the risk of repeating myself, I didn't get an answer to that private property stream. And if the answer is, don't worry about it, doesn't mean anything. It's going to Beaton, Tottenham, and Alliston. I'm fine with that answer. I just was looking for an answer.
Okay. Councillor Beatty?
Thanks, Your Worship. More of a comment and a thank you more than anything. I think it was a very successful program. It didn't have a lot of runway, like Darcy said, on the first uptake, so he will have more this time around, thankfully. But I think roughly half, if not more, of everybody that reached out with interest in the program took advantage of it. So I think that's a great first year. And I think it's just one of those things that we leaned into because we had to. And we realized through this whole experience that they're worth keeping as part of the new normal that we all hopefully will return to someday soon. So I'm happy to support keeping the program permanent and expanding it as well, which is outlined in the report. And I think the report says to waive the fees for next year as well, which I'm also supportive of. And before we move on, I just wanted to say a thank you to our Economic Development Officer, Darcy Brooke Bishop, for all of his hard work and his advocacy on this. And everybody at the ABIA and BTBIA and the membership that took part. Great job by everybody. Thanks, Your Worship.
Good. Thanks, Councillor Beatty. Anyone else? Okay. Move of Councillor Noyle and a seconder, Councillor Foster, and further that the temporary restaurant patio program as outlined in report of ED 2021-02 be approved, and further that the municipal fees and charges required to obtain a permit to operate a temporary patio be waived for the 2021 season in order to provide support to the local restaurants in their recovery from the economical impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I'll go back to Councillor Noah. Regards to the CW42, we would have to go in camera. Do you mind if we put that right at the end, Councillor Noah? Okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. I just wanted to ask a question about the bylaw. If that's okay.
So it's just a question about the bylaw.
Then we're okay.
So we're okay then.
So we can do it?
We can do it.
Okay.
Just for you. CW42, Councillor Noyle.
Thank you, Worship. I was looking at the bylaw and all the people listed are like Councillor Scott Anderson, and the list goes down. Then we have our own Jackie Bailey, but there's no name of where she's from. It doesn't say the town or New Tecumseth. So do we have to identify her in that bylaw? That's my question.
So through your worship, it would just be the councillors of the municipalities that we'd identify. Under our terms of reference, there's nothing to indicate where the members have to be from, the public members, only that they have an interest.
Yeah, but so my question is, why don't we put beside Jacqueline Bailey, town or New Tecumseth? That's my only question.
Through your worship, we can look into that. We can review the terms of reference to see if there's a requirement to do so. I know in the past they haven't, but that's something that we can look into.
Great.
Like as it states here, it doesn't show where she's from. And if
Right.
somebody's reading the bylaw, they're saying, like, where's Jackie Bailey from? That's only my question. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sainsbury?
Thank you, Your Worship. I know I'm the appointed person from the town of New Tecumseth, and all the other councillors are mentioned by town. Do I need to be on that list, or is it because it's our town I don't need to be?
Through your worship, council's actually been appointed under the committee and the advisory committee bylaw, not this bylaw. So this one is just actually for residents and for those appointed from other municipalities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Noyle, second by Councillor Sainsbury, that report of Min 2021-02 be received, and further that on bylaw 2020-031 be amended to appoint the citizen applicant and included in the confidential attachment number 1 to report of Min 2021-02 to the Museum on the Boyne Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 2018 to the 2022 term of council, or until a successor are appointed. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Next one is CW46 and Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Just a quick question. The report from Ms. Gallant makes reference to our $5 million revolving line of credit we have with the TD Bank. And she makes a reference in there that this is I believe it's a municipal standard and a prudent measure. She also references the fact that we've never had to use this before. Just a simple question. Do you see anything upcoming in the year ahead that would force us to rely on this revolving line of credit?
Ms. Bedford.
Jeez Louise. Through your worship to Councillor Foster. No, at this point in time, there is nothing in the funding program to suggest we would need to use that line of credit.
Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, moved by Councillor Foster and second by Councillor Harrison McIntyre that report of FIN 2021-03 be received and further that the 2021 current boron bylaw be enacted. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one is CW5 and Councillor McClellan. CW52.
Thank you, Worship. I'll just make my points quickly and then I have a question for staff at the end. So about this development, the OMB ruling called for 2 parcels to be conveyed to the town for park purposes. I'm concerned that that's not made entirely clear in our report tonight on the agenda, that this land is supposed to be parkland. I don't believe it's appropriate to leave this development with a deficit for parkland. On tonight's report, it states the subject property was intended to be a parkette, providing connectivity to the walking trails surrounding natural heritage features and the existing stormwater management pond. This speaks directly to our official plan and how it states that we develop parks and open spaces within developments. On page 115 and 116 of our official plan, it states, or it speaks to incorporating stormwater management facilities, putting parks beside stormwater management facilities, like we already see in some newer subdivisions in Alliston and Tottenham. Developments, park developments, connecting walkways and trail systems. The parcel that we are speaking of today does exactly all of those things set out in our official plan. Why would we want to be left with a parkland deficit when we have this parcel situated perfectly? It already connects walkways, trails, and the stormwater management pond and existing natural features. I find it odd that this report is telling council that we may need to find a piece of land to accomplish exactly what this piece of land already does. After reading through 5 different original purchase of sale agreements from that West Country residents were kind enough to provide me, Warning Clause Q, which is quoted in our staff report tonight, does not exist in their purchase of sale documents. What is not absent from the documents is the maps clearly showing that this parcel is parkland. The residents bought these properties in good faith that the warning clauses in the site plan agreement were properly added to their purchase of sale agreements. Unfortunately, they were not. Therefore, these residents had no way of knowing development of this block was apparently a possibility. So my question to staff, I believe it would be directed to General Manager Hoppy, if he could confirm to us tonight that if we deny this application as per the original terms of the subdivision agreement, that the subject lands would be required to be conveyed to the town for parkland purposes. I guess I just want to know if I'm correct in saying this. Thank
Director
you.
Hoppy? Thank you. Director Hoppy?
Through your worship to Councillor McClellan. So the way the subdivision agreement was worded, and that was entered into in 2015, this particular block of land, it gave council the option of whether or not the town wishes to develop it as a parkette. It also has a clause that says alternatively, the town can obtain cash in lieu, and the developer would retain the lots for residential purposes. So that is in the 2015 agreement. So it's really up to council. If council wants to maintain this for parkland purposes, that can be directed accordingly. And I'm not sure if that answers your question fully.
Thanks, Councillor. Director Hoppy. Councillor McClellan, then we have Deputy Mayor. We also have 3 citizens that wish to speak. Does council want to let the public speak and then we'll speak afterwards?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, can we bring Jennifer in?
Hi.
I can hear you, but I can't see you, Jennifer.
Oh, do you have to see me?
No.
Okay, perfect. It's late at night.
Thank you.
So I voiced my concerns at the meeting back in September. So I don't know if you want me to go over those concerns again or just explain why okay. So I just want to point out that I purchased in 2013, and in my purchase and sale agreement, it does not state that this is going to be anything but parkland. So I've gone through it just like Stephanie explained just there. And it does not say anything about it being houses. So when I purchased my house, it was supposed to be a park. People who purchased after me in 2015, I don't know. I can't comment on that, just what I can read my own. And just that I strongly disagree with this, and that I think that Beaton needs more parkland. And I'm hoping that we can keep this as planned.
Good. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And we have next Nadia.
Oh.
Hi, Nadia, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Hi, I can't see myself, so hopefully I look good. So here, right there I am. So according to the World Health Organization, every city is recommended to provide at least a minimum of 9 square meters of urban green space per person, provided it's accessible, safe, and functional. I've done a little bit of research. I'm not sure if those stats are entirely true, but I feel like Beaton fails within that recommendation. I made a little note thing, so bear with me as I read through it. So this proposal for more houses in already a tight community of Beaton feels as though these guidelines need to be taken a little bit more seriously, especially since this green space was already in the plan and now it's taken off the table. Green spaces, parks, fields, woods, even storm ponds, anything, a garden, gives people space for physical activity, relaxation, peace, and an escape from just everyday life and sometimes heat. Multiple studies show that these green spaces reduce stress and boost our mental health and physical health. Since mental health is on a topic of conversations these days with COVID and Mental Health Day I guess it was last week, we should be considering this green space. It's been a hard year with COVID. I know myself, I've been struggling. I've been on mat leave for most of COVID with 2 very young children. My dad is a senior who can't go anywhere. Like, he can't go anywhere. So relying on just a park bench, a green space for him to sit, help. He doesn't need to, he can distance himself. You know, this COVID is not going anywhere. We need to respect the social distancing, but allow for a community to give us that, right? We just need more green space. I guess that's my point. There's never been a more dire time for this green space in this town. Subdivisions are going to come into Beaton, and that's, you know, whether we agree with it or not. I used to live in Vaughan and I moved there in '87. It was literally 2 streets. It's developed. It's going to happen, but we can't take our green space away. If we do, we're going to have a, pardon my language, a lot of angry, I was going to say shit ton, of angry residents. And that's what's going to happen. We need kind of, we need this, right? I myself, I live on the old part of McCullough, so I'm not part of that West County development. So I don't know what their lease agreement says or whatever it is. But when we first started looking at houses and came into this town of Beaton, my dad was so excited for me. A beautiful little town, committed to keeping the aesthetics quaint, and that small town feel gave my dad the reassurance that he needed, knowing that I was moving away from him, but starting a family of my own in a town that's devoted to family friendly. We strive here to make the voice of the residents heard. I also remember speaking with Richard when I first moved here, and his exact words were, "We don't want Beaton to look like a Brampton." And he won me. It's a small town. It's beautiful. We don't need more development and then lack on that green space. So here I am 5 years later, 2 little ones, and absolutely no parks to go to on this side of town. I'm on the west side of Dayfoot, and I have nowhere to go. Like, the only park I can go to is on Prospect, which is far. It's a far walk for me. I have 2 little ones, a dog. I have to factor in a nap, snacks. Like, it's not easy to get to. And the other one is in the Devon Lee subdivision. And to get there from my house, I have to walk along Dayfoot, which there's no sidewalk. So it's just really not safe for us. So that little bit of green space, you know, I can pack a picnic and sit on the grass and just get away from our everyday life, because I feel like we've all been working from home, correct? You know, we need a little bit of, you know, a 5-minute walk just to step outside. So just having said all that, we have nothing on this side. And I feel like these promises, you know, 5 years, I'm almost on my 6th year here in Beaton. And I feel like all these new families that are coming in, we're relying on something that's not even, like, why are we fighting against this? Right? Like, what? It's green space. We should all want this. It shouldn't be on the table for more houses. Put more houses wherever all these subdivisions are going. It's a small little piece of land. Just put some trees in the bench for everyone. It's been a hard year with COVID, and one thing that I think we can all agree on is that family and community in these times are so important. It's necessary that we come together and understand that this green space is necessary for our well-being, our children's well-being, and I feel like the seniors of this town as well. So we can call this town of Beaton our community, our home. So that's all I need to say.
Good. Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you.
And Tyler?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Tyler.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'll try and keep it short and sweet for you. I know it's been a long night for everybody, so I just wanted to say the same thing as a few other people have mentioned. I feel like we don't have enough green space in this general area. There was a report that the town put out saying with a 400-meter walk radius, the closest park to us would be Jim Milligan Park, and I'm not quite sure who measured that out, but it's 700 meters from my driveway, and I'm at the very start of this subdivision. So that I don't feel is an accurate assessment. And as far as the passive recreation lands that you guys have said around the ponds, I'm just curious, like what would that be used for? Because it's not a place where kids would go and throw a ball. You're not going to go and walk small children out there, especially in a time where all these health units are telling us to protect yourself against mosquitoes and Lyme disease, ticks, stuff like that. And yet you guys are saying that's an adequate place to go and play in the long grass. So I don't think that counts as being recreational grounds. And as far as the other part, the impact this would cause to the existing residents when they have to tear up the road to service 8 lots for sewer and water, and as well as every time it gets windy, all the wind generally comes from the west and blows all the construction debris over to our area. And we've dealt with this for 5 years. I've lived here 5 years next week, and it's just been ongoing and ongoing. And I'm just wondering when it's going to stop, you know? And if it does go through, I'm just kind of curious, this cash in lieu that the developer can pay to get out of building this green space, or would that go back into this subdivision, say, to maybe develop some trails that we have never got, or is this going to go to another park in another town or whatever? But I'll just leave it at that, and thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Tyler. To your question, I'll go to Director Burton. If you can respond to Tyler's question in regards to the money, where it goes to.
Or through you, Mayor Milne, any monies that are collected in terms of cash in lieu of parkland would go into the parkland reserve account, and it would be attributed to any need that's identified within the town itself. Another point of clarification on the discussion and Tyler's questions, the area in the green space around the exterior of the subdivision subject lands, that entire perimeter does receive some passive pathways that get constructed as part of this development agreement. So there will be clear-cut trails that would meander through that area in terms of active or passive parkland space.
Thank you. Anything else, Tyler?
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any of our, we're going to now go to council, and I believe Deputy Mayor Norcross and to Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to quote from the report, and I'm going to quote what we've been told. The parkette serves as a pleasant entry feature and provides an important aesthetic value to that subdivision. If this is approved, West Country subdivision would be deficient in the required parkland dedication, which was part of the original agreement. So when this development came forward, the deal was simple. This many homes, this much parkettes, this much parkland, and that was the deal. Now they want to change it. It was always intended to be a parkette. The residents that are living there understood this, and it was part of the community that they bought into. So we have an opportunity to maintain the open space, and I believe we should, because if we sell this, when we get rid of this, the report openly says that we are denying the residents that live there the appropriate required parkette parkland that they agreed to have in their subdivision. So if Councillor McClellan would make the motion to not approve this, I would support the local councillor on this. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Worship. I will absolutely make that motion. I just wanted to touch on the valley lands that we keep talking about to the north of the subdivision that can be used as passive green space. I don't know how many of you have taken a walk down there, but after you get by barbed wire fence, it is impossible to go down there with a stroller or a wagon, and certainly not possible to go down there if you have any sort of accessibility issues. So it's a compromise that I'm certainly not willing to take. And I think, as Deputy Mayor Norcross said, we should, this was the intention in 2011 when the OMB made their ruling and the town negotiated the terms of the agreement. It very clearly stated there's to be 2 park blocks because As for the Planning Act, we require 5% of every development, of every land parcel to be parkland. And this wasn't going to be full of equipment or anything like that. Some nice, trees for shade and a nice area for picnic or to cool off or to sit on a bench. And I think we need to honor the terms that we entered into with the OMB for this subdivision. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Sainsbury.
Yes, this has been going on a long time, as you can plainly see, and I think it went through Alliance Homes to Walton Group to Farside Homes. So I think because it's just committee of the whole, we have heard comments from many different people this evening, but I would like to have an opinion from our town solicitor related to the things that have been stated this evening, because I don't want to walk into some kind of a legal mess when people are trying to interpret things and we're not lawyers. So I would prefer that it's just be held for tonight and that it go down first to the town solicitor for the comments that have been made. I remember that they talked about that being parkland. I don't know where it ever said that you could just take 8 lots away from somebody for no price. And I don't know if 8 lots are more than the 10% or 5%, sorry, parkland that they have to dedicate to us. So there are some questions that have been raised just from the comments that have been made. So I would just like to receive it and refer it to the town solicitor and have it come back to the council meeting with the answers from the town solicitor. Because you don't just, when you buy homes and they abut a farm, just because it's open farmland and you walk your dog on it for 5 years doesn't mean you have any claim to it. We went through that with the Beaton Woods on the Rosardo lands, and that was a terrible ordeal, and it was very stressful for all of us. And I don't want to walk into the same kind of a pit just because we want to sit on a bench on a patch of grass that we do not own yet. And I don't know what 8 lots are worth per lot. Maybe they can forfeit 2 and still get the people through, give them their bench and have a place to sit. So I really think it's unfair to just cut it all off when we've gone this far and it's been on the books for a long time. But I think there's a lot of assumptions from the from the offers of purchase and sale, things that may have been told by real estate, not town staff. So I think that there's some legal issues involved in this. It's not just that we're going to make a park.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Worship. To be clear, Mr. Chickendance does not own this land. It is still owned by the Walton Group. And when I said in the beginning that I read through people's purchase of sale, I'm not going off of them being told anything by a real estate agent. They didn't buy from a real estate agent. They bought from a developer at the sales office. The only warning clauses that were in those purchase of sales were the ones that were required in the negotiated agreement with the OMB. Those ones all made it very clearly and distinctly into the purchase of sale agreements. What never made it in was this clause Q that appeared in the site plan agreement in 2015 and was required in the site plan agreement to be listed under the warning clauses in the purchase of sale. I read 5 after that had been ratified and passed through council, and they weren't in there. So my point was, it's not fair. These people entered into these contracts in good faith. And if you read the OMB ruling from 2011, it clearly states in numerous areas that 2 parkland blocks are to be conveyed to the town, because that equals the 5% that we require in the Planning Act of developments to give for parks and open space.
Richard was a second.
Thank you.
Supplementary, Your Worship.
Councillor Sainsbury.
Yeah, thank you. Supplementary. I'm just concerned that well, first of all, my question through you, Your Worship, is Mr. Chickendance handy? Is he here for this meeting, for this issue? Is he present on the phone somewhere or on the Zoom meeting?
No. No.
Nobody is here from Farsight?
No.
No.
Okay. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Real quick, just to clarify, these were never 8 lots on the plan of subdivision. This was a parkette that was shown on the plan of subdivision that was agreed to by the original developer in the town of New Tecumseth. So my understanding is going forward, a proposal being put in place is to make 8 lots and to develop 8 lots that was never shown on the plan of subdivision. And in return for the permission to do that, write a check to the municipality for cash in lieu of parkland. So just for members of council, just so you know, this, in my understanding, these were never 8 lots. They're just being proposed to be 8 lots now. The original plan said there was going to be 2 parkettes. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. And
Supplementary to the deputy mayor.
yes, Councillor Sainsbury.
Yeah, so it was just a parkette, not 8 lots is what you're saying. So if he doesn't own it and Walton Group still owns it, has it ever been dedicated to the town? Or anybody who put the plan on it?
I'll go to the Director Hoppy.
Your Worship, through you, no, these lands, depending the results of this application, will either be conveyed to the municipality if that's what the council's direction is, or alternatively, if the zoning is approved, then there'll be a reconciliation, a payment made, depending on the value in accordance with our parkland conveyance bylaw.
Was that in writing from the OMB document that we received after the end of the hearing?
Director Hoppy.
Again, through you, Your Worship, there are numerous references in both the 2011 OMB decision that has the draft plan conditions attached to it, as well as the subdivision agreement that was approved by council and entered into with Walton in 2015. So those 2 documents, should council direct us, we could provide that more detailed information.
The reason I mention it is because I was on council since 2010, and I believe it was a Mr. Alex Troop who came from Alliance Homes related to this whole issue in the beginning and said certain things. And we usually tape things because we started doing Rogers around 2010. So if this was a 2011 issue, then I'm sure we must have a tape on file somewhere or can get one from Rogers. I'd like to know who said what at the microphone and what they were promising us to do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClellan.
I muted myself. I went backwards. Yeah, no, in the OMB approval, the conditions of approval for this subdivision, Big Country North, Big Country South, Town of New Tecumseth, in the approval clauses 1, it says two blocks for parkland is to be dedicated. In condition 12, it said the owner shall convey the following lands to the town, which was at the time listed as blocks 166 and 167, which was on the original draft plan. It's in there. It's in there more than once, and it's in there over and over again. So I think we need to stay true to what our now current residents of Beaton bought into. I think it's the right thing to do, and it's not appropriate to leave a deficit because it's going to make a difference. Absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Beattie.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a question. Based on the agreement of 2015, I think the issue at hand that we're dealing with is simply whether this is going to be a parkette or a cash in lieu contribution. So my question is, if it's a cash in lieu contribution, how much money are we talking about? Does anybody know?
Director Hoppy.
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Beattie, I don't have a specific amount that I can share or that I know. Our parkland bylaw requires that the owner obtain an appraisal, and it's the day before a building permit is issued. So it would be current market value. And like I started to say a second ago, there's the larger Patel Park on the west side of the subdivision. We would have to do a reconciliation of what percentage that park counts toward the overall 5%, and then come up with a value at that point. So like I say, I don't have a specific number, but it would be in accordance with the Planning Act and our Parkland Conveyance Bylaw at the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Worship. It sounds like there'll be more information and more deliberation and conversation happening with the solicitor. So with that in mind, I'll hold my comments for after I hear from him. But one of the things I remember hearing loud and clear over and above anything else was not concerns from residents about property values. It was concerns about the agreement. This is what we're dealing, what is on the agenda tonight is not what they were sold when they purchased their home and moved to this community. And this situation, it's unfortunate. I don't think anybody goes into these agreements thinking you're going to go into receivership, whether you're the developer or the purchaser. But this is the situation that we found ourselves in. And on behalf of the residents that have suffered through a lot of the hardships over the last couple of years, I think it's incumbent upon us to make it right. And I don't think that just because it happens to have some floodplain land around it, that shouldn't be some form of compensation or anything like that for less parkland. I think we need to honor the agreement that was signed on behalf of the residents that are here now. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, last time, Councillor Sainsbury.
Through you again to the director. I'm just concerned that we have something in the report for council, because this is just committee of the whole, that it says that we have no legal ramifications and that we will not end up with some kind of huge lawsuit over a little patch for benches and things. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Councillor McClellan.
It was just to officially put the motion on the floor that that we deny the application and request our parkland that's been due to us since 2011.
And it is duly seconded by Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
I'll get the clerk to read the motion out.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just working on the second paragraph.
Okay.
Right now, what we have is that report PD 2021-08 be received, and further that the application by Walton South Simcoe Residential Development Corporation, care of Robert Chickendance for West Country Subdivision, Community of Beaton, file number DEV 396 be denied. And further that staff investigate, Councillor McClellan, you're looking to get our parkland back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If you can just give me a moment on that.
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
Okay.
Still want the legal opinion. They've spent a fortune on stuff.
Okay, through your worship. You okay? Okay, and further that staff investigate recouping parkland provided to the developer. I think through your worship, we might have to look for a legal opinion with regards to that aspect. So would council be okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Councillor McClellan and Deputy Mayor.
Yep.
Good. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. CW 53, Councillor Jeff.
Your Worship, I'll make the motion to put this on the floor.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Noel, thank you. Motion that report of PD 2021-09 be received and further than a bylaw be enacted to amend the zoning bylaw number 2014-126, subsequently in the form included as attachment number 1 to report of PD 2021-09. Questions? Councillor Jeff.
Yes, in the past, whenever we've had people come forward to try to get building permits or applications, we try to help them to expedite permits. And is there any way, this will be through to General Manager Hoppy, is there anything that we can do to help the Dorsey family? Because believe it or not, spring is coming. Yay. And the temporary workers will be back, I hope, probably isolating in the new home that they're going to be able to be in. So is there anything that we can do to kind of help them get the ducks in a row so whenever it's time to go, they can hit the ground running?
Director Hoppy?
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Jebb, yes, we can certainly accept the application for the permit and get that processed. The reality is the bylaw, which would appear subject to this resolution on the next council agenda, is subject to a 20-day appeal period. And zoning bylaw is applicable law under the building code. So our chief building official would not be able to actually issue the permit until the expiration of the appeal period. So it would be in the neighborhood of the 21st of March. And I know he's been already in touch with the Dorseys through their agent, who I think is on the line with us tonight. And I think as long as they were underway by April 1st, then that timing would work from them.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Sorry.
Just a supplementary, anything we can do to help them bring it along, I'm sure it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Understood.
Councillor McClellan?
Just a quick question. I'm not even sure if it's possible, but is it possible to add to our special council meeting tonight? Would that help move things faster? No? Okay. Just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. CW 5-6 and Councillor Foster and Councillor McClellan. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Pre-pandemic, there was a distinct and intentional move in New Tecumseth towards enhancing our online presence. An improved website, online access to registration, forms for a significant amount of the services offered by the town. Costly efficiency reviews resulting in additional recommendations directing the town to have more forms, applications online for residents to access. Online payments are simple and efficient. Town social media presence is continually expanding with additional personnel being added to the communications department. Since the pandemic, there can be little doubt that the world has changed. Business have made every effort to constantly adapt, as have millions of people. Operating models that have formed the basis for sound decision-making for years have been turned upside down and in lots of cases are no longer relevant. Through everything that has happened and continues to happen, there remains one constant. That is the new administration center at 25 Albert Street West in Alliston. May the $479,672 plus 10% contingency be voted on tonight for the project restart, continued detailed design and contract administration services signal the beginning of a shift in thinking and approach that appears to be absent to date. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councillor McClellan?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I just wanted to quickly mention, not only do I agree with everything Councillor Foster said, I have a very good friend who works in the steel industry and gives me weekly to bi-weekly updates on steel prices. Steel prices have doubled in the last 3 months. Wood is up 58% and drywall has risen almost as much as wood. So I think we're getting in over our head here, and I just wanted to get that on record. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Your Worship. I know the majority council is speaking, but just to put caution out there that, I still believe maybe we should put this project on hold till the ramifications of COVID-19 are fully known. There's still a lot of unknown variables out there, and quite frankly, when we get through this, I'm not so sure the bricks and mortars, but just to put caution to our CAO and Director Burton. In my industry, there are material shortages daily and a very volatile production supply chain across the country. Materials are becoming increasingly harder to access. And unfortunately, there's been nothing but a steady price increase happening weekly. Thanks, Your Worship.
Good, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Sainsbury.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've been concerned ever since day one that we kept putting this off, excuse me, and putting it off and putting it off. And it went from 15.9 to almost $20 million with 19 whatever. And we saved $1 million by not heating it for 2 winters. And we saved 500,000 by not taking it to the dump. And so I just feel that this is just a stalling thing. If this never should have been, in my opinion, a political issue, it's a future issue for the town. And it just kind of went forth and back like a bouncing ball. People are happy that we've made the decision. They want us to see us move forward. We have budgeted. Ms. Bedford has told us where the money's coming from. We got a special memo related to that again this week. And so I just think that we need to make decisions, get a town office, and move forward, because the prices are still going to keep going up every year that we stall. And I just wanted to get that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone else, I'm going to read the motion then. The report of PRC 2021-01 be received, and further the staff be directed to proceed with the single source awards to Plus VG, the vendor group Ltd, for the project restart, continued detailed design and contract administration services for the upset fee of $479,672 plus HST in accordance with their proposal dated January 19, 2021. And further that the 10% project contingency allowance in the amount of $50,000 plus HST be approved, within which the general manager of infrastructure and development or their designate is authorized to make the amendments to the scope of the work. Look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Jebb, second by Councillor Noel. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, we're going to go into the committee of the whole meeting, and if I get the right. Yeah, we're just taking. Did the council want to take a 5-minute break? Okay.
Carry on.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep
Staff have to
going.
drive home.
I'll take a 1 minute while you guys change over.
Okay.
I'll just take 1 minute.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. Well, the Deputy Mayor goes, I need a mover and second to go in camera. Councillor Jebb and Councillor Noel, all in favor?
10:04.
Thank you. All right, a motion then to come out into open session, moved by Councillor Jab.
Oh.
And Councillor Foster. At what time?
10:18, your worship.
Right. We do a verbal report on the town solicitor. Okay, motion that the committee of the whole I've got that. That the verbal report of the town solicitor be received and for the confidential direction therein be recommended to council for adoption. Moved by Councillor Beattie, second by Councillor Foster. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, can't hear you at all. We have to adjourn this meeting and then go into special. Yeah, for a special, yeah. Okay. Adjournment, Councillor Zeb, that the committee of the whole meeting February 1st adjourns at what time?
10:19, your worship.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Special council meeting. That'll be resolved at the agenda for the special council meeting. Oh, I thought we were live, sorry. Yeah, but I have to stop. You know, we got fantastic staff here that keep control of me well. Thumbs up. Okay. Be resolved that the agenda for the special council meeting held on February 1st, 2021 be confirmed as circulated. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Lacey. This time, if you have peculiar interest, you can claim it now or when the item comes up. CW 5. Okay. Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a conflict on item 2 CS1.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Same item. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Motion be resolved that a report of PD 2021-11 be received and for that any person or public body request an amendment to the town's official plan before the second anniversary of the first day of the approval be exempt from the 2-year moratorium in accordance with section 22(2)(1) and 22(2) of the Planning Act. Mover and seconder. Councillor Foster and Councillor Lacey, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, CW 57. Be resolved as report of PRC 2021-02 be received and further that the request for proposal of an RFP 20-07 for the design, supply, and installation of playground equipment for the replacement of Rotary Adventure Playground in Riverdale Park, Alliston, be awarded to Play Power Limited Canada Inc. in accordance with the proposal dated July 10th, 2020, for the upset fee of $178,153.94 plus applicable taxes. And further that the necessary bylaw be enacted and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary agreement with successful proponents of Play Power LT Canada Inc. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Noyle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. CS1. Be resolved that the verbal report of the town solicitor be received and further that the confidential direction therein be approved. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Jebb. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Deputy Mayor. Yep, there he is. CS2, we resolved the report of CAO 2021-01 we received and further that the confidential direction therein be approved. Moved by Councillor Sainsbury, second by Councillor Beatty. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be read a first, second, and third time enacted at 2021-012. Move and second, please. Councillor Lacey and Councillor McClellan, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motion be resolved the bylaw 2021-013 to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting at meeting on February 1st, 2021 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Moved by Councillor Beatty, second by Councillor McClellan. All in favor? Councillor Jebb, we will resolve at the meeting adjourned at what time?
10:24, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Council. Great night.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.
Night.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.